Hey mom, open up, we're here. Oh god, how do I voice the mom?
I don't remember. We
Shit.
did it for like an episode.
Yeah, shit. I'll figure it out. The door swings open and Mrs. Ibarozaki stands grinning at her daughter. The grin is still surprisingly similar to Emmy's. I'm never gonna get used to that. You know, people normally wait for a few minutes before they start shouting at the door. And most mothers say hello to their daughters instead of scolding them right away.
Not in my experience.
Ah, of course. Welcome home, dear. I've missed you. An affectionate hug later, we're inside, and it's only then that Emmy's mom seems to remember that I'm actually here. And hello to you too, Hisao. How are you? I'm quite well, thank you. Nice to not have school to worry about for a little bit. Well, they actually might be on summer break or something.
Yeah, that's what I was
Or spring
thinking.
break or whatever.
I
Ah,
was wondering.
yes, you finished up your exams, haven't you? That must be quite a relief for you both.
Oh, that's right. She was using the excuse of studying for her exams to be alone when she
Yeah.
was.
It's certainly a weight off my mind, that's for sure.
Know that
Mine
feeling.
too. I think I slept well for the first time in weeks last night from relief alone. If this news is a surprise to Emmy's mother, she doesn't show it. Still, her response betrays a note of interest. Is that so? I'm very glad to hear that, Emmy. You know I get worried when you get all wound up about, well, exams. Certainly Emmy's mother knows something I don't, or rather she
Liars.
doesn't know that Emmy's told me about the nightmares. It's interesting being able to observe how Mrs. Ibarozaki covers for Emmy. That protective instinct to make sure I don't know any more than Emmy's willing to tell me.
Liar.
I suppose Emmy's got more in common with quarks than I ever realized. Wait, what?
What?
I don't know enough quarks to get that joke.
What is a quark?
It's some sort of, like, subatomic particle.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know enough about quarks to get the joke there, though.
Wait.
So now I just feel like a loser. Oh, moves around fast, impossible to understand through direct observation, yet she has an effect on everyone she encounters. Well,
They
that would
they even
be the
explain it.
joke, I guess.
Son of a bitch.
I wonder if Mrs. Ibarozaki will figure out that I know about the nightmares, or is she just keeping everything secret from everybody? Yeah, it's not been as bad this year as in the past. Hisao helped me to stay focused. Okay, I know that's not true. She even cut off contact outside of school hours during exam week. But she did see me during the day, and she told me more than once that the morning run was the only thing she looked forward to during exams, so maybe it's not that much of a lie.
I don't look
Either
forward
way,
to
to
anything
hear that
during
being around
exams.
has helped even a little makes me feel a bit better. Emmy's mother raises an eyebrow at the statement. Either she doesn't believe Emmy or she's as surprised as I am. Well, then it appears that it's a good thing you two have become so close. I'd tell you to take good care of my daughter, Hisao, but it looks like you're already doing that. Emmy grins at this and seems to take pride in my having managed to ingratiate myself with her mother so easily. Actually, I'd say your daughter's been the one taking care of me. She's gotten me out and running. I've probably been more active since meeting her than I ever was, even before. I'd actually never thought of it that much, nor had I ever appreciated the humor in it. I wasn't too active before the heart attack. Pickup games of soccer don't really count since they weren't that common. So now that I know for sure that I have a weak heart, now I run every day, pushing my luck with the help of my medication. I chuckle quietly, then realize I'd never finished my sentence. Well, before I had my heart attack and wound up at school here. It comes out so casually. There was a time I would have thought twice about talking about what was wrong with me at all. But now, it just seems so silly to care, especially in the company of Emmy and her mother. If Emmy can be so cavalier about her disability, then so can I.
I do have to admit, Emmy has a much more traumatic experience with her disability than Hisao does.
Yeah, I guess.
She got in a
Yeah.
car crash.
Yeah, more traumatic. Yeah. I think back to the track meet, where Emmy declared herself the fastest thing on no legs. The fact of her obvious loss never seemed to bother her, at least not in public. Being stuck in the wheelchair frustrated her, I know, but even that was something she dealt with on her own, despite my efforts to the contrary.
Is Emmy aware of the man in South Africa who shot his girlfriend? Because I'm pretty sure he's faster than her.
He wasn't very
He.
well known before this game came out.
When did the game come out?
In January of 2012.
2012? No, he was. It was 2009 when he went in the Olympics, I
Well,
think, or
shut the
something like
fuck
that.
up. He hadn't shot his girlfriend yet.
Okay, fine. Don't give you that.
Emmy has a way of bringing out the more active side in people. I'd never quite figured out how she does it. I'm pretty sure I just took the voice I was doing for Lily and applied it to Emmy's mom, but what the fuck ever. Lily
No,
is
Lily had a little bit more like dreaminess to it.
whatever. Lily isn't in this path fucking at all, so it doesn't matter. Those puppy dog eyes she gets for starters. I'm not surprised she managed to rope you into an exercise routine. If Rin weren't just as stubborn as she is, I'm sure that Emmy would have gotten her out and running with you too.
Rin isn't stubborn, she's lazy.
Rin isn't stubborn, she's just like completely fucking out of it all the time. Oh, that reminds me. Rin says hello. I drift to the outer edge of the conversation again as we move into the dining room to eat.
We're not in Japan. This is not a Japanese dinner room.
You are probably 100% correct.
I didn't think we were in Japan when we saw the outside of the house.
Yeah. It smells delicious in here, and the spread that Emmy's mom has produced is impressive. Whoa, you've made enough to feed an army in here. Is it too much? Well, you can always take some leftovers with you when you go. That sounds great. I can only handle cafeteria food for so long. Something home-cooked would be a welcome change of pace. What he said. Thanks, Mom. The food tastes as good as it smells, and there's a lull in the conversation while we all dig in. Emmy assaults her plate with the usual amount of gusto, and I will admit that I set a pretty fast pace for myself. So, Hisao, I hear that you and my daughter have gotten rather close.
Wait, where are we going with this?
The urge to say something like, not really, is so strong that I open my mouth to say it, but then reassert control. We are close, there's no getting around it. I mean, Emmy's brought me here, hasn't she? Fortunately, both Emmy and her mother seem to take my reaction as a sign that I'm caught off guard rather than considering saying something cruel. I suppose we have. I blame the morning runs myself. You make it sound like a bad thing, Hisao. Well, I, for one, find it a relief. Why is that? Emmy's always been a popular girl, but never made many close friends. This is a bit of news to me. I've always seen Emmy chatting with her classmates in the hallways, and certainly the whole track team seems to love her. Well, but it is true that she chooses to isolate herself during lunch with Rin and I. Not me.
When was she gonna tell me
actually,
about
yes, me. It would be me in that context.
Would it?
Or Rin and me. Yeah, because you wouldn't say she isolates herself with I, you'd say she isolates herself with me.
No, you would say I, Rin and I. Me and
no,
Rin.
It's Rin and me in that context.
Fuck it.
It might be me and Rin. I don't know. The grammar's a little
they don't
fuzzy.
give two shits about grammar.
Grammar's slightly fuzzy on that sentence.
They make handicap porn. They don't care.
Not exactly the sort of behavior one expects from a popular girl, after all. Then again, I've experienced her unwillingness to get close firsthand, so I can't say that I'm surprised.
I'm lost. Where are we?
After the line that I just said.
Where?
I think you're too far. I was beginning to have my doubts.
There.
Emmy rolls her eyes to the ceiling and grumbles something I can't quite make out. Huh? What? What's that you just said? Nothing? Mrs. Ibarazaki chokes on her drink with laughter. You've been hanging out with the nurse too long, Emmy. I'm gonna have to talk to him about corrupting my daughter. Somehow I don't think that would be very effective. I learned most of it from you anyway, not the nurse.
This is getting... Where is this going?
Dat face. Dat Emmy face.
Where is this going?
Don't listen to her, Sal. She's a born liar. Yeah, right. Oh, I don't know, Emmy. I think your mother has a point. What? You traitor. You're supposed to take my side in this. Yeah, but you did lie about your leg after the... Ow! Shit. A kick in the shins from an unmistakably plastic foot cuts me off, but not before Mrs. Ibarazaki's eyes shoot upwards. What about your leg? It wasn't a big deal, that's all. I was just in a wheelchair for a bit. The last few mumbled words are quickly deciphered by Emmy's mother. I suspect she has experience with this sort of thing, and a worried frown appears on her face. So that's why he kept dodging my calls. Oh, Emmy, I know how much you hate being in a wheelchair. No wonder you've been in such a mood lately.
Wait, is Emmy's mother fucking the nurse?
She's at least pretty good friends with the nurse. Beyond that, I'm unclear. Yeah, she's much happier on her feet, so to speak. Well, of course. She spent enough time in a chair just after the accident. She ain't got prosthetics immediately? No, she had to finish healing up before they'd let her start the sort of therapy you've got to go through to adjust to those sort of things. Especially since she wanted to run on them.
It's not that much therapy. It's more of let's put them on and go, kid. You fell on your ass. Fuck. Try these.
I had no idea. Notice that Emmy is just standing over there looking really upset and just looking back and forth from you and her mom. I had no idea. Yeah, it sucked. Oh, did you see Rin's mural at the festival? Emmy's sudden change of topic makes me realize belatedly that she's been fidgeting the whole time her mother and I have been talking. I should have figured on her being a little skittish when it comes to talking about the accident, even around her mother.
I'm warming up my bitch slapping hand. I'm warming it up.
I don't think that's how it works. No, I didn't make it out to the festival, remember? Although I caught a glimpse of it at your track meet, it seemed pretty weird to me. I think that's more or less what she was going for. She talked a lot about it being dreamlike, or trying to make it dreamlike. Rin's art is one of those things I don't think I'll ever understand. That's not surprising. I don't think Rin expects to be understood. She told me once that art allows people to understand stuff they wouldn't understand otherwise, but all the same she doesn't think it actually works that way. I'm surprised that Emmy's talked about this with Rin extensively enough to actually have Rin's opinion, such as it is. Though I expect that Rin could not, if she were so inclined, say the same thing about Emmy's. Of course, unless, of course, Emmy is purposely keeping me in the dark about everything, which is unlikely, but unpleasant to think about. I drift down this unpleasant train of thought for a while, losing track of the conversation. Hey, Emmy, I've been meaning to ask. Huh? Are you going to visit your father this year?
Oh, he's not dead.
From the way she says it, you'd think Emmy's mother was talking about the weather. From the way Emmy reacts, it's clearly not the weather they're talking about. She flinches, a slight jerk of the head backwards, as if she's just been slapped in the face. Can we talk about this later?
So was
The
he...
voice sounds brittle, strained. It looks as if she's been severely shaken by the question. It seems that Mrs. Ibarozaki misjudged how close Emmy and I are. Some things, it seems, are best not conversed about with me around. Her father is one of these things. The accident that took her legs is probably another one of those things, if her reaction to the earlier conversation between her mother and myself is any indication. It does not take Emmy's mother long to realize she's screwed up. Of course we can, dear. I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to ask so I can make plans. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Emmy fidgets nervously, as if embarrassed by her own reaction. I confess that her reaction is confusing. She only just mentioned her father to me earlier today, less than a few hours ago, even. Why does a simple question about when she'll visit her father cause such a strong reaction? Unless whatever serenity she claimed to have reached by means of our talk the previous evening has suddenly evaporated. Or it didn't help as much as she thought, or claimed. I'll, be right back. Gotta visit the little girl's room. Emmy gets up and suddenly leaves the table, leaving me and Mrs. Ibarozaki alone.
Well then. Let's do this. We got about 20 minutes.
People taking the bathroom? I'm a little conflicted. Should I go after her, or should I stay here?
Stay here.
It's obvious that Emmy's departure was not based on the call of nature. Something's bothering her, and I have to know what it is.
Stay here.
How to go about it.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
I remember that's it.
you fucking looked it up, penis.
I didn't look it up. I just remembered because I looked it up like a really long time ago.
That's what I meant. You fucking looked it up, you penis.
You sent me the flowchart.
Did I?
Yes, that's why I have it.
Fuck. Why did I do that?
I would have found it regardless.
There's an awkward silence at the table for a while after Emmy dashes off. I can't think of anything to say. Emmy's mother sighs, breaking the silence. Sorry about that, Hisao. I sometimes forget that Emmy's touchy about certain subjects. This is actually a scene I've never seen before because I went after her. And I was talking about the wheelchair thing, too. Should I go after her? Yes!
I don't...
Ought there be a secondary choice where it lets you fuck up again?
I'd be so confused.
Heavens no, she didn't leave the table to continue the conversation, you know. But if she's troubled, shouldn't someone help her?
But
If it were anyone else, I'd say yes. But my daughter is as stubborn as a mule, and if she wants to be alone, it's best to let her be alone.
I think
Otherwise, she'll probably say something she'll regret, which would cause you to say something you'd regret, and I would prefer that dinner doesn't end with one or the both of you storming out of the house. Yeah, that would be a great thing to avoid.
I think that in this case you would compare the mule to being an Emmy.
Okay.
When
If that were to happen, I'd be a terrible hostess, wouldn't I? I've already acted as a fool once today. That's okay, I shouldn't have brought up the wheelchair, apparently. Mrs. Ibarazaki frowns, clearly more bothered by Emmy's omission than she'd let on. I wish she just wouldn't do that. It just makes me worry more, you know? She does this often? What, running off to the bathroom? No, I can't say she does. Keep injuries from her mother, though? Well, that's a little more common. Every time I catch her lying like that, she assures me that the only reason she didn't tell me is because it wasn't a big deal. If it's any consolation, I'm sure the only reason I knew about it at all is because I saw her every day. This elicits a dry chuckle from across the table. Mrs. Ibarazaki sighs a little sadly. Still hesitant about getting close to people, huh? I keep hoping that she'll get over that. It's funny, really. She's bounced back so well from the accident in so many ways. I guess some things never really go away. From the looks of it, this whole thing still bothers her, too. She seems to be a little more willing to talk about the accident without Emmy around, though. Hey, I've got a question if it's alright. Oh? What did Emmy lose in that accident? The nurse says she gets this way near the anniversary. She won't talk about it to me. So you thought I'd fill you in, yeah, hopefully. Well, there's a problem with that request, you know? Let me guess, you promised Emmy that you wouldn't tell anyone she didn't want to know, and you don't know if she wants me to know. Something like that. I promised Emmy she'd be the one to tell people the full story. But isn't that important? I mean, it's clearly had a huge effect on her, and if she's still like this so long after the accident happened... That's true. It did have a long-lasting effect on her. There are a few things that she'll probably never really get over. And for a moment, Mrs. Ibarazaki looks incredibly saddened, as if an old wound is bothering her. I suppose there are a few things I'll never really get over, either. Another dry chuckle, and with a shake of her head, Emmy's mother banishes the memory. Look, there's something you absolutely must understand about the way Emmy thinks about the accident. What's that? It wasn't a big deal. Somehow I managed to keep my mouth from falling open in surprise, but it takes some effort. That has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I beg your pardon? Okay, maybe it's not that simple, but it's a pretty accurate summation. Emmy that the accident did not define her, and that everything she lost that day didn't define her either.
What the hell?
She's not the girl who lost her legs. She's the fastest thing on no legs. Her optimism and her energy came out of that wreck without a scratch, as far as she's concerned. Yet it goes beyond that, doesn't it? I mean, last night she told me that she refused to rely on me because it would make losing me too painful. Not really. She said she wouldn't tell you about the accident, even though you've asked her about it before. The reason she won't talk about it when you ask it is because to her it's not something you should absolutely need to know. Even if she wasn't terrified of getting too close to anyone, she still wouldn't talk about it. She's afraid of being close to me? Oh goodness me, yes. For all that talk of being unscathed by the accident, she's gained the ugly knowledge of how quickly it can all be over. So she's not going to let people get especially close to her, and she certainly would resent any implication that she cannot work through this on her own. But I don't think she can. Oh no? Are you sure you've been dating my daughter and not someone else? Trust me, Hisao, she can get through it on her own. But she has nightmares, and she can't sleep well, and she does this every year. Tell me, if she wasn't able to get through it on her own, do you really think she'd still be alive? She would have killed herself, or something equally melodramatic. So what, I shouldn't try to help her? I didn't say that. I hate seeing my daughter like this, and knowing that she could rely on someone else would let me relax. You just need to understand that accepting help goes against everything Emmy thinks about herself and the way the world works. If you still want to offer her help, then I guess that's your call. Honestly, I'd like you to, but it would be silly not to warn you that it's not going to be easy. You just need to be patient with her. She's already closer to you than anyone else she's ever met at Yamaku. Well, it sure doesn't feel like we're very close.
Oh god.
Good, that makes this part easier. Emmy's voice nearly gives me a heart attack. That face! Can we talk about this face?
Right there. I'm sort of terrified. Is she gonna kill me?
Fucking demon eyes. Whoa, didn't hear you come back, Emmy. How convenient. Wait, were you eavesdropping? Nope, just happened to come back at the right moment, I guess. Emmy, Hisao is just... Emmy holds up a finger, cutting her mother off. On his way out of the house? Yeah, I know. Emmy's trembling with anger now, looking vaguely betrayed. Emmy, don't be ridiculous. We were just... You promised! The pain carried in the last word is almost too much for me to bear. The idea that I could hurt her that much is like being kicked in the gut.
Is she mad at me or her mother?
Both.
Okay.
Emmy's mother looks similarly pained by the thought. And I kept that promise. Just listen, there's no reason to go throwing people out of the house. Emmy's mother seems to be both angry at her daughter's outburst and embarrassed that I'm a witness to it. There's only one real solution to this problem, I think. It's okay, I'll go. Now really, that seems a little unnecessary. Don't worry about it. Thank you for dinner, Mrs. Iburazaki, and for the advice. It was my pleasure, Hisao. I'm sorry we didn't get to the dessert. That's okay. I have to watch what I eat anyway. Good evening, Emmy, Mrs. Iburazaki. The formality of our conversation, coupled with the fact that I'm getting ready to leave, seems to snap Emmy out of her anger. No, wait, I'm sorry. I've been so... And after last night, I just thought... You don't have to go. I take it back. It's okay. I can't help but smile slightly. She can barely articulate her apology, and I really would like to stay, but I don't think I can right now. I need to think about what her mother said, and about what I'm going to do about us. I don't want to risk accidentally getting Emmy angry again in her current state, either. No, I think I'd better leave. You seem pretty shook up, and, well, I'll only wind up trying to help you again. I know you'd prefer I didn't, so I'm gonna leave instead. But, hey, it's not a problem. You don't want a knight on a white charger, right? Just promise me one thing, okay? What? Don't be angry at your mom, okay? She was just giving me some advice, that's all.
The hell's a knight on a white charger?
Like, Knight in Shining Armor. Like, white knight coming to save her all the time.
Okay.
It's a metaphor.
It's a bad metaphor.
It's a really common metaphor. He just worded it differently than it's usually worded.
Therefore, it's bad.
Emmy nods hesitantly, like this simple idea is all that she can grab onto at this point. She's so terribly off balance, but I can't do anything about that right now. Okay. See you tomorrow, okay? Running in the morning, don't forget. I can see that I've hurt Emmy by deciding to leave, but there's nothing I can do for her as things stand, and I know she's too stubborn to admit that she wants me to stick around. I watch various emotions cross Emmy's face as she tries to process everything that's just happened. Shortly comes that calm look again, like last night, and that voice that tries so hard to sound careless. Sure, Hisao. See you around. Both of us are unwilling to concede emotion at this point, and I'm having a hard time keeping up my facade, so I turn on my heel and walk out the door. I shut it behind me slowly, pausing for a moment as the latch catches, my hand on the doorknob. Did I make the right decision just now? Should I have stayed and tried to work things out? No, I decided. Not in front of her mother like that. In spite of everything, I'd rather keep Emmy's mother insulated from the sort of anger that surfaced last night. Even though she's probably used to it, some protective instinct wants me to keep Emmy's image as a cheerful girl intact. With a start, I realize my hand is still resting on the knob. I take my hand away, put it in my pocket, and head down the slowly darkening street. So, just a brief moment to talk about what happened when I played this path.
What'd you do? You get screwed in the ass?
Yeah, basically, I followed her.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know how there she sort of told you to fuck off, but then immediately took it back?
Yeah.
She didn't take it back. That demon look stayed around for a little while longer.
That's why you're so afraid of it.
There was a lot of shouting at each other. And then I said something like she said something, I said something, she said something, I said something, and then at some point I had just said something that clearly really pissed her off, and she just said, "Get out of my house."
That's poetry, man.
And I was just like,
Poetry.
but, and she was like, "No, get out." And I'm like, "Okay."
And then you go and have sex with Kenji.
And then I go home and I lay down in my bed and I cry.
But what about Kenji though?
Fuck Kenji.
Exactly. I'm winning.
I let out a long breath.